What's going on, everybody? Doug Cunnington here, and in this interview, I talked to Clayton Johnson of the HOTH. The HOTH was based in it was spawned from ideas in the 4-hour work week. So basically, they were trying to create a business that provided them with location independence. They wanted to have some freedom with their time, and they got started at a good time. Timing was good. They obviously put a lot of work into it, and they built the company from the ground up with systems in place so that they wouldn't have to, figure out how to get out of the business. The HOTH is an SEO company, and they have a suite of products. They do guest posting, they do link building, they do content, and managed services, more or less. They also white label everything, so a person could, for example, serve as the project manager and as sort of the marketing and sales person, and then outsource most of the work to a company like the HOTH. They have excellent customer service in general, and I'm a fan, so I shouldn't have gone on and on like that. But Clayton and I just chat. I hear about his story specifically, and he's the CMO, that's the Chief Marketing Officer at the HOTH, but he's one of the founders. There are products behind a lot of the interviews because, it's interesting to talk about that sort of stuff, but really Clayton and I spend a lot of time on his journey. So he actually sold a lot of his stuff at one point in time. I think this was 2014. He sold his stuff, got rid of his car. He moved to Colombia and hung out there for a few years. The cool thing is during the time that he was gone in Colombia, that's when the HOTH was growing at an alarming rate. We go very deep into it, and we talk about how the growth happened and just the realities of growing a company from just a few people to, I think they have about 45 folks right now, and they have an office, a physical office in St. Petersburg, Florida, near Tampa, right? So anyway, I'm going to send it over to the interview. Quick thing to note, I am an affiliate for the HOTH, so if you happen to follow a link in the description or make a purchase, I get a commission, which I definitely appreciate. And I will also say I'm running some tests right now. So depending on when you watch this video, you may be able to check out some of the tests that I'm running with the HOTH, specifically on guest posting. So without further ado, let's go to the interview. Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here. I'm with my friend Clayton Johnson of the HOTH. How are you today?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. And I've worked with the HOTH for a long time, actually, since I got started doing any kind of internet marketing. So I appreciate you taking the time. It's a pleasure to speak with you. And I'm pumped to have the HOTH on my channel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too. Thank you much. Thanks so much for having me.
Right on. So for the people that don't know you personally, Clayton, can you give a little intro and then sort of what you do at the HOTH?
Yeah. So where to start? So my name is Clayton Johnson. I'm the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of the HOTH, but I've actually been around from the beginning. If anybody's never heard of the HOTH before, we're an SEO company. We started as a link building company, then kind of expanded. So we started in 2010, and we've really grown over the last few years. And it gets to be 9 years now that I've been in this. And now we have an office full of 45 people here in Florida, and we got hundreds of people across the U.S. That are working for us. So yeah, man, it's been a great journey, and now I do all the marketing for it.
Awesome. So you've been with the HOTH since the beginning in 2010?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So what was it like getting started?
Dude, when you're in a startup, man, it's so much different than it is now. So we actually started in Chicago, and I lived there for 5 years. The cold 17-month winters. But it was just a few guys in an apartment, and we actually launched with just a YouTube video. And that's kind of like what it's like. We had that really startup, lean, scrappy mentality, and just try to get something out there. And actually, we were so fortunate in that we had a product that connected with the market. We had just a simple one link building service, and it was enough revenue to say, hey, this might be something big. So we just invested in that and kept growing. And I did operations for that. So if anybody's ever run a business, you know how like you do every single thing in the business at some point. So yeah, that's exactly what I've done. So yeah, it started just like with a few guys, and then we added a little bit more people, and then a few years ago we kind of had a break point where we just kind of exploded. So that's the whole entrepreneurial roller coaster has been a crazy ride, man.
I believe it. So did you have how many people did you start with? Sound like 2, 3 guys?
Yeah, it was like essentially like 3 people, and then we started, getting like a little team of essentially contractors.
Okay. And then did you have a background in SEO prior to that?
Hell no, I had like no background in SEO. I went to school for like they call it telecom. It's kind of like communications, and then I worked in a T-shirt printing shop. After that, doing web stuff, and then started doing the HOTH. But I mean, I think that's kind of like how everything works now. And what's amazing about the time that we live in is that most people, whatever you're doing, there's a good chance you did not learn that in school, and actually you learn so much more. And we have so much access to learn anything now, even for free. That it's just a crazy time to be living it, man.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool. Just getting started out of an apartment and then just organically kept pushing. Did you feel like the dip of Seth Godin fame? Did you feel that dip early on, or it sounds like maybe it was pretty solid at the beginning?
Can you tell me what the dip is? I read that book like 10 years ago, but I forget.
Okay. Well, it's like when things aren't working out, do you need to move on to a new project because it's a bad idea or a bad fit? Or are you just in that dip, and once you push through, then things will work out?
I think that we were really lucky in that we did find product market fit like pretty quick, and it was enough to generate revenue that sustainable business. But at the same time, like I think everyone feels at least some sort of dip, right? Like almost all the time. So I think we were very fortunate in that. But like when the business isn't really generating that much in the beginning, you're like, is this like a real big thing, or is this just kind of like a blimp? Is it going to go away? Because we didn't have recurring revenue. It wasn't like some businesses like start software and they can predict their revenues. We had like that one-time purchase type of thing. It's kind of like, I mean, affiliates a lot of times, like if you have like somebody might come and they might purchase and then it's gone, or if the website dips or whatever. I felt that kind of, like we didn't have the recurring revenue. So
right. Gotcha. And then you mentioned at some point things sort of popped. Like, do you know what that inflection point was? What caused that?
Yeah, man. Well, there was a lot of things to say about when we went. We essentially in the last from 2014 to 2019, we have now 17x our revenues. So that's like a four year period. And when I say 17x, if you were making like $1 and you 17x'd it, you'd be making like $17. So let's just say we started way above that.
Wow.
So we've significantly improved our revenues. And the thing that caused it, there's a lot of different things that go into it. But I think a common story with everyone is that the thing that mostly limits people, or the thing that really makes a big explosion, is almost always starts like internally with yourself. That's exactly what happened to me. We ran a business and it grew and it was doing well, but at a certain point, like, it kind of stalled out. Right? We were just at a certain revenue and we couldn't really get above that. And I felt that kind of not only just in the revenue, but I also felt like my life, like where are we going next? What am I doing? All that kind of stuff. And then through the pain of Chicago winters, finally forced me to say like, yo, something has got to change. And so I decided to not do that anymore. I didn't want to live any more winter, and I wanted to find something, and I didn't even know what it was. But the cool thing about going looking for something is like sometimes you find it, right? And so I sold everything I had and I moved to Colombia in South America, and that was October 2014. And right then I just started like working on myself. I started working on like daily routines, started working on being like grateful. I stopped complaining, like eliminated complaining from my life. Not to say that I never do it. I would do it all the time, but it's like a goal. So I really worked on myself personally, and then at the same time, I kind of started setting goals and trying to figure out like how to actually achieve those goals. And through that process, I had like a lot of realizations. I kind of moved from an operational capacity, running operations, and into marketing. And that was kind of the start of everything. You can like literally look at our traffic graph, our revenue graph, and the amount of fun we're having graph, and they all look the same. They all go like this. They hit the like late 2014, early 2015, and just start skyrocketing. So, that I think that was a big catalyst. Is if you're stalled out, a lot of times what you need to get to that next level is figure out how you yourself can get to that next level. That was definitely true with myself.
Interesting. Well, and I'm glad you brought it up because before we started recording, everyone else who wasn't here, basically I was like, hey, St. Pete, Tampa, traffic's a little rough. And you're like, oh, I haven't had a car in a while. And you're like, yeah, I sold everything and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. So you're telling me you moved down to Colombia for a few years, and then that's when the business took off and you were working remotely.
Yeah. Well, I would say like, look, there's a lot of different elements to it. I said that I was down there, but at the same time, there's a lot of other things that happen in the business. We were able to bring on some really great people. We were able to expand the product line. But for myself personally, that's how I see my vision and like how I improved. And I don't think it would be able to be there. I wouldn't be able to do what I do now without having that personal transformation. So.
Got it. Cool. So let's transition a little bit because I know a lot of my audience is interested in some of the technical SEO stuff. So we're going to knock out some of these babies here. So from an SEO standpoint in the Hoth, like how have you guys been able to stay current from 2010 until the present with algorithm updates and the changing landscape of SEO, that sort of thing?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. And that we started in 2010, like right after 2010, all the biggest updates of all time happened, the Panda Penguin, all that kind of stuff. And it was like we started a business, it was a link building business, and it might have been like the worst time ever to start a link building business because it was just raining fire. Luckily, what happens is that, to some extent, I do love this industry because after those updates happen, SEO is always band together and look at data and figure it out. And thanks to what's happening now, we have like these companies like Ahrefs that are putting out like sick data and they have access to it. And now we're doing less and less guessing all the time. So, even back in the day, we had people analyzing the SERPs and figuring out how to come back from it or whatever. And so we were able to survive through all those. When we started to like expand the product line, I think that was like a big part for us as well, which is, we were building links. We had this one link building product, and we started expanding into like local citations. And I think a big transition happened when we started expanding into content. People might have known us as a link building company in the past, but actually we sell a ton of content. We do a ton of content, and we kind of reinvented the process to do it a little bit differently than the typical content mills. And that's been doing that in a little bit different way and training the people that are coming on to be our content creators. That really changed the game, and content became a big part of it. And then on top of that, after expanding all that product line, we put together, a managed service, and that really catapulted up us into like the next category. Because for the most part, I think that business owners want to run their business, and SEO is really a one part of marketing, albeit like a very strong, powerful ROI positive part. But when people can I see it so many times when we talk to clients, they can get so easily sucked down in the details. They get so smart, it prevents their success. You know what I mean? So we created that service, and now we can actually help clients stay up to date so they don't have to. So that evolution, I think, helped keep us current.
Got it. And I was going to say, well, I didn't ask this earlier, but that original product, can you, in link building strategy, can you tell us what that was? Is that proprietary? Yeah. Can you share?
Yeah, actually, the product was originally called the HOTH, which is a lesson. If you're starting a business, you got to think bigger. Think like you're going to expand your product line at some point, okay? Because that became confusing later on. But yeah, it was called the HOTH. Now it's called HOTH Foundations. And essentially, it was very simple. We started in 2010. What we do is we create a little bit of content. We put them on Web 2.0 type properties, and we put your link in there, and then we power those properties up with second tier links. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works. It's a very simple strategy, and it works great, especially for for low budget. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a very inexpensive way to get links to your site.
Cool. And just make sure I got it right and for the other folks. So you would create maybe a few blogs like a Blogger, WordPress, and put some content out there that's relevant. And then you have some link or some websites that you could send links to those so they have some authority behind them. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly the strategy.
Okay. And speaking of authority, there's a lot of different companies. You mentioned Ahrefs, there's Moz, there's a few other, Majestic. Which metrics do you feel, if you can say, because I'm sure you know people at all the companies, which metrics for authority do you find the most accurate to use in-house there?
Well, we sell posts based on Moz domain authority because that was kind of the industry standard for a while. And then after that, internally we use, well, first of all, we have access, or we use all of the tools. We use SEMrush, Ahrefs. We actually haven't used Majestic as much lately, but we use both SEMrush and Ahrefs all the time. I loved for the last few years, Ahrefs has just like smashed it, I think, in my opinion. I love their stats. It looks like from what they say, they have some of the best crawlers, the most data, all that kind of stuff. But I will say that I've seen some studies now that Moz has just put their foot back in the game, and their new crawlers and stats are amazing as well. And then SEMrush, who is kind of like the other one that's in the game. I stopped using them for a while when Ahrefs was coming up and adding all these features, but I've just been using SEMrush a lot more lately because they've added a ton of new stuff too. So to be honest, if the question is what is the most accurate, I really don't know. I know that we use Ahrefs for the stats a lot, but Moz is really good too. So
cool. And that's kind of where I arrived to. They have certain strengths, and you guys are obviously doing a lot more throughput than I am. But every company seems to have an area that they focused on, and like you said, Ahrefs like up their game. Their blog content's even better. They have so much more. I think they're crawling faster than Google. I don't know, but
Dude, did you hear that they want to release their own search engine?
No, I didn't hear that.
The founder was tweeting about how he wants to create his own search engine. I was like, dude, they could probably do it because they have so much data and they know how. Yeah, I mean, that could be amazing.
That would be great. Yeah. Wow. So from a beginner standpoint, can you tell me the most common maybe mistakes that a beginner may make from an SEO standpoint?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest beginner mistake that we see is that people get their own problem is that they're too smart for themselves. They will read and read and read and read and read all kinds of articles, and they will forget to actually take action. And the reality is, like, you're not going to become an expert by reading and reading and reading. Don't get me wrong, get enough information, but we get so many people that can probably talk about SEO way more technically than I can. But at the end of the day, you can go look at the HOTH's like SEO traffic, and we have over $200,000 a month worth of SEO traffic that's coming to our site. And, so it's like, it's more about taking action than getting down in the details. I think people limit themselves by trying to be too technical and not taking enough action. That's probably the biggest mistake that I see.
Okay. Well, you took my next question, which is how to keep from getting overwhelmed because of all the information. And I think, like spend some time studying and then you can execute and see what's going on, but there's like unlimited information and then you don't know how accurate it is depending on who you're getting it from.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the reality is that most people show up. This happens all the time to me. Like, most people show up and they're very confident in whatever they say. And I find out that for myself, which I've had a lot of experience in SEO for like 9 years, and doing marketing and all kinds of stuff, and we run a successful company. I find out that a lot of the things that I'm very confident in, I'm totally wrong. And the things that I think are never going to work, then they just work. This happens all the time. So I've let my ego go and I focus more on like, let's just do stuff and then we will look at the data later.
Sort it out later. Yeah, I totally, I totally understand that. I can relate.
Not like an unguided crazy person. I mean, we have strategies we think, but I'm much more intent on like taking action and trying things than I am on like trying to get bogged down and making everything exactly perfect.
For sure, for sure. So, from more advanced link building standpoint, as far as like link building velocity, maybe for a brand new site, I guess what's the recommendation from the Hoth? Like if we came to you or if I came to you for like a managed package, like how would you guys approach it?
Yeah, well, like for the most part, I think the most important thing for us, at least, is determining, what are you trying to rank for, and then looking at the data objectively to figure out what it's going to take to rank for that. I think a lot of people try something like this where they go like, "Ooh, I want to rank for this term," and they'll build like a couple links, and they'll be like, "Ooh, I'm not ranking. What happened?" And what we like to do is look more at, like for instance, in Ahrefs, they have a great feature. You go in there and you can look at how many links are coming to the page, the top pages are on page one or the top three, and see how many links they have and see what the power and strength of those links are. And so if you can look at the data more objectively and you say like the top three on average have 70 links and you're starting out, you just built 3 links, you got a little ways to go in order to be able to actually even compete in the top one. So like that's, for me, that's like even more important than the link velocities. Like figuring out objective, like what is it going to take to even rank for this? And then after that, we've seen that, at least this is, what we've seen looking over like a ton of different clients that we've actually had, is that consistency is very helpful. If you are building your site, I would love for marketing to be like this, like build one link, go up one space. It never is like that. Nothing is like that, from like email marketing to social. It's never like that. So what I preach is like consistency. You need to be building more content and building more links every month, and I'm less concerned with that velocity. Now there's some more technical people out there that have had some pretty good theories, like your link building should you can magnify it, or you can increase your velocity as you gain traffic, as that would be natural. People finding more people finding your website, more people could be linking to it. That would the traffic would justify the backlinks. I think that's a great theory. But in my opinion, what I've seen is that those are the 2 things that I would focus on the most. Number 1, figuring out how many links you're actually going to need, and then number 2, keeping on consistency going towards that goal.
Got it. And that totally makes sense. I mean, kind of some of the stuff that we were talking about, where it's like we were very confident about a certain approach, but then you could find different instances and case studies where it's disproved or an exception. Yeah. And it's like, well, it's really hard to tell what's going on, and we can frame the story around it however we want. Yeah. And then you end up like making bad decisions. So
yeah, which makes me like just come back to that kind of like always focus on the cores. And if you're doing most of the cores right, like everything's going to come up. When you get down in the details and try to figure out everything, I think it's going to lead to like a lot of frustration.
Right. So let's get away from some of the SEO specific stuff. And I'm interested personally on like, you mentioned Hoth traffic growing so much over the last few years, revenue followed. Can you talk about some of that, and like what did you guys do on the blog to get that kind of growth?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of around early 2014, late 2014, sometime in 2014, same time when I moved, kind of started thinking about this problem that you've heard this phrase before, the cobbler's children have no shoes. I think every business owner feels like that. If anybody has never heard that, essentially means you're working on your clients and they're getting great success, but if you look at yourself, you're not getting the same success that they're getting. So, and this is very common with like marketing companies. So if you looked at the Hoth traffic back in the day, we looked like we didn't know what we were doing because we weren't working on our own site. So what we kind of did, I was like, we should probably rank for stuff to prove to people that we're a good SEO company. But I didn't necessarily focus on like an awesome SEO strategy. What I first focused on was the actual content that's going to help the people. I always say, like, I'm really focused on who are we trying to help? Who's the avatar that you're trying to attract? You got to get to know that person and what they care about so that you can connect to them through their content, right? So I start with that before anything. And so what I would do is I would say, what are the things that they're here right now and they want to get to over here, which I want them to get to a purchase, right? And so what are the things that are stopping them from getting to the purchase? What are the questions, the doubts, the fears that they have before they can actually purchase or start having success with SEO? And so I would listen to our sales guys' calls and like hear the same questions over and over, right? And this happens in every market. That people, before they buy like a product, they're going to have like the same like 6 questions that they want answered. Like, which one's the best? Does it have this? Well, is the price worth it on this one or whatever? They have the same questions over and over. So if you know what those questions are, then you can create content around them. And that can just shortcut them to the actual purchase, right? And so that's what I focused on. I started focusing on what are the questions that they're asking over and over and over. I just wrote articles about those. And that was kind of the renewing of our blog, where I actually wrote it to our customers and not just like lame updates about the Hoth. So we started writing about stuff like link building and anchor text selection and how to avoid penalties and what's the SEO strategy you should be using and things like that. And that was kind of like the beginning of the blog. And then after that, we started creating tools. And tools were like a huge one for us. Sometimes when you talk about like link building or linkable assets, people write ultimate guides, and ultimate guides are great. But for us, in addition to that, there's a lot of times we can make like a resource that's not necessarily like a regular article or a big thing. So for us, tools were a big resource that people could use. And that worked really well in terms of like ranking and getting people to link to our site, because people will totally link to tools or resources. And so that's kind of how, the traffic exploded. But what was kind of cool was about that theory, as we were testing on our own site and our website, we essentially built links like consistently, built consistent content, and then our traffic exploded. Crazy enough, building links and content gets you really good traffic, right?
It's the two things. Yeah. It's only two things.
Yeah. So we kind of translated that strategy into our managed SEO product, and then we did the same thing with a bunch of clients. So that was really successful.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's usually, we look for more complicated answers because we imagine it must be complicated, but it's like showing up every day, every week. Like, how long did it take before it like popped, by the way? Just curious.
You know what? I can't really remember the timeline because, like, to be honest, I wasn't even doing it that consistently in the beginning. I wasn't blogging consistently. Because it was all me. You know what I mean? I was trying to like run marketing, make sure the operations going, create new products, all kinds of different stuff. Not that I was like the only person, but I'm just saying, like, as somebody like a business owner, you're juggling a lot of different things. So I don't think I was even very consistent. But if you do it consistently, what we do see with like our clients, for instance, is that you can start seeing some pretty good results within 3 months. That's building like every single month. And then after that, to actually hit your goals, it just depends on how competitive, it is. But yeah, if you do it consistently for 3 months, it's kind of like working out,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
You got to suspend your disbelief for that period of time. Is that 3 months, that first 3 months when you're building content, building links? Like, that's the hardest, man, because Google hasn't had enough time to pick up your site, and Google's just seeing if you're going to become an authority or just like a little rinky-dink site. And you got to suspend your disbelief that it's not going to work, and then just keep going. And then once you hit that mark, Google like will pick it up, see that you're doing it, and they can just unlock the floodgates. And then it's just a lot easier after that.
For sure. And I feel like it's like that across the board for so many things, like you said, working out or whatever. I've spent a lot of time on YouTube, and it's just like there's no inflection point. It's just like slow growth, or at least for me, right? At least for me. I know some people have had like explosive growth, but if you're just showing up making boring videos like me, then slow growth.
Yeah, YouTube is hard. We're competing with a lot of really funny videos, man. I'm not that funny.
Yeah. But, Clayton and I figured out how to blur our background and smooth out our face. I look much better right now.
I'm going through a change right now. I should have prepared better, but I'm trying to grow a beard, so I look like, not super clean at the moment, but trying to get this thing to go long.
No, that's good. I don't know if that'll work for Florida very well though, but I guess I mean have you had a big beard before? Or?
No, I've never had a beard, so it's new for me, man.
Okay, it's coming out pretty good. I can't. You see, I'm like follically challenged, as they say. But I tried to grow a beard over the winter because it was so cold up in Bozeman. It's like -15, like extremely very cold. So it really helped, but it just looked patchy, and I looked silly with trying to grow a beard, to be honest with you. But yours, it looks full, and you got a solid set of beard follicles. So.
Thank you. Yeah, man. I feel like sometimes, like you're going along and you're doing something for like a long time, so you gotta change it up, man. And you just gotta feel like you're ready for a change in like many different things. Like I just started growing this out because I moved back to the U.S. just like a few weeks ago. So I was like, that's another great time to change.
That's cool. And it's funny, just all of a sudden we're talking beards. But how long have you been growing that now?
Maybe like 3 weeks, something like that. Maybe a month.
Right. How far are you gonna let it go?
I don't know. Let's see how long I can get it, man. Right?
That's cool. All right. Now, speaking of Florida, is it St. Pete or Tampa that you guys are in? Just like
we're in St. Petersburg, which is like right outside of Tampa. If people don't know what St. Petersburg is.
Okay. And the reason why I mentioned that is I saw best place to work in that area, right? You got voted for that. Can you talk about that? Like, what's the deal with the culture there and all that?
Yeah. So for us, we have won Tampa Bay, one of the best places to work for the last 2 years. And I think that that's really important. Like as people grow their businesses, wherever you're at in your business, probably there's a good chance you're going to have to hire employees in order to really achieve your full vision. And believe me, that's even coming from the HOTH was actually started on the whole 4-hour work week kind of book as an inspiration, like a lifestyle business. It was actually started like that. And then as you start helping people, like the vision expands and it changes what you actually want. But yeah, so from the beginning that we thought that culture was like super important. You saw like what the HOTH monster looks like, it's a little bit different than a typical like swoosh logo SEO company. And the HOTH is actually an acronym. It stands for hit 'em over the head. And it's all about like bludgeoning with awesomeness or going above and beyond, like hitting somebody over the head like, oh man, that was like an awesome experience, or that was like awesome customer service. I didn't expect that, or whatever. It's about going above and beyond. And so we wanted to take that and make it permeate through everything else. And so that's why we worked really hard on our culture. We even have a culture document that describes, how we should operate as a company. And actually, I wrote a post on it if anybody wants to check it out on the HOTHCON. But yeah, that was baked in there. And like I feel like if you can take care of your employees, they're going to take care of your customers. And so we bake that in. It's not just we want to help everyone with SEO, but we want to have a blast doing that. So I think all those things are going to help make like a successful company right now, like in this kind of climate.
Very cool. I know, obviously it's really hard to do that as you're growing, especially, but it's pretty amazing to have like such a strong culture. Just I've worked at big corporations for a couple years before I got laid off. And you hear the culture stuff and the culture document, and it's just the mission statement and all that kind of garbage, and you don't buy into it. And I think with a company your size, right? I can believe it, but I was in bigger companies, so I'm jaded, like you would expect.
No, man, I think it gets harder and harder as you grow bigger because you have so many contingencies and different personalities and kind of stuff. When you have 5 people, man, you got like a killer culture because it's you and your friends or you know what I mean? But once you start growing, it gets harder. What's cool about this is I think that if you come in it from the beginning and you have that, like we were lucky that I hate so many other things. So I'm like, we will never do that. So you have this like strong base. And the thing is, like, when we put it out there, to be honest, like we've had a culture doc for a long time, even before we had like a bunch of employees. But the thing is, like when people came in, it was crazy because they took it to heart. Like they actually believed in it, and the culture like created a creature of its own. It was wild. Like when I came back here, because the office actually started growing while I was out of the country, and it was crazy when I came back. I could just see that everybody was like buying into it, and they were even taking it like a step further. It like created its own monster. So I think if you build a company, you come in after, and they try like tack on culture to it and like rah the people, like no one's gonna believe it. But if you start small, like wherever you're at, and you build it now, I think that's like how you can do it. I think that's probably part of the reason that it's been very successful here.
Very cool. Yeah, that's amazing. Now, it sounds like maybe you weren't like there as much, but I'm curious about growing the team and the HR aspect of all of that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So we started as a virtual company, and we were virtual for many years. We never had an office or anything like that, just worked out of our homes or our friends' homes or whatever, co-working spaces sometimes. And that was kind of cool. As the team started to grow, as we started adding more revenue, it kind of became more important that we actually have an office. As we want to add more team members on, and just for communication and keeping everybody together, started to get like, we needed that office. And we hired an operations manager, and he really just led the charge. Like if you get those great key first employees, like I think those are like some of the most important. And I'm sure everyone's business operates much more differently than mine, but that was one of the most key hires we've ever done, is an ops person. And by operations, I mean like, okay, we're doing the marketing, we're doing this. You're the guy that makes sure that everything runs okay. Like if customers are contacting you, or things are going down, or the website goes down, or whatever, you're going to be in charge of making sure that everything keeps running, right? So I'm trying to make it so people can relate to this, because I have no idea what businesses they're running. So when we hired that like ops guy, he had experience. He came in and he had experience like hiring people, and just took our team and found where we needed people, and was just able to take take our team from like 6 people in an office to like 20 in the space of a year, and then in the next like couple years, to 45 here in the office. So I think like those key hires were there, and it's just finding that right person at the right time to be able to like help you out with that and help you scale where you need to, where you don't even have the eyes. Like that was like a key thing for us.
Awesome. And I think maybe another point is like, you got someone who was experienced in an area that, I don't know, even if you guys had the skills already, you maybe didn't have time to execute on it. So you had someone that knew how to run a shop, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. And it sounds crazy, but like I couldn't think of a better person to be running our company now. Or he's the COO, the chief of operations now, but he actually came from Target. And you'd be like, dude, you hired someone from Target, right? But what's kind of crazy is like you start after hiring a lot of people, you start seeing these interesting things. It's like with hiring someone from Target, that's somebody that had corporate development, that was able to grow quickly through. They understood bigger structures. They hired and fired a lot of people. They grew through different teams and became managers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of those skills that is irrelevant whether SEO is important or not. He was able to come in and figure out, oh, we're going to need capacity over here, and have the experience and the confidence to be able to execute those things. And I've actually noticed that about a lot of our best employees. Our best employees are not, when you think about like hiring the best SEO or the best PPC or whatever, you go out there and you look for that person. And a lot of times, that can be very hard to do, and those people are very, very expensive. Or if they're already the best, dude, they're good. They don't want to work for you, So what I've actually found, like some of the best employees that we've had at our company are not what you typically think. It's more about the person that is underlying. What is their attitude? What is their work style? They came from Target. They were previous babysitters. They were previous people that were from rock bands. Like literally, some of the top people at our company. They can come from anywhere, and it's so much more about the core of the person and the way they approach their work and their responsibility than anything else. That can supersede almost anything. So
very interesting. I did a lot of guest posting in the past, right? And I was nervous to hire anyone who said they knew SEO, because you don't know like the practices that they're going to use. So I just hired my writers to do it, who could communicate, follow directions, and send emails, which is a lot of like what working online is. And
Yeah.
they did awesome. They knocked it out of the park. They did way better than anyone else. So I would recommend, yeah, like you said, looking at the person, their core sort of skills at a higher level. Like
Yep.
if someone can follow directions and they're willing to learn and they're flexible, like that's usually pretty good. And then you needed someone who had, the I guess like experience working with an org chart and like navigating the politics that just are inherent with a company as it's growing. So very cool.
You said something like that's super perfect, which is we try to hire from within, or we try to promote from within. So like for you, you said that you took your writers that were good at doing emails and turning them up, and that we've seen the same thing. Some of the fastest growing people at our company, they start in support, which is like you would think is the most like boring, basic, and it is, but the people that can survive support, they have all the skills in terms of like, getting to impact zero and being nice to people when they're not happy, or being able to solve problems, understanding all the products and all the contingencies and all kinds of different stuff. So they're like really set up to just like excel in the company. And I love, if I need a new team, I love picking people that have been through that. So if you have a company hiring and promoting from within, I think that's like a jackpot.
Definitely. So, couple products like we were chatting beforehand, and I know there's a couple products that I haven't seen before. I've used the foundation from back in the day, some guest posting stuff, even that I'm testing out right now. But the syndication product that you have, can you talk about that a little bit? And then I'll ask like sort of the common questions that may come around from that. So.
Yeah, HOTH Syndication, it's a new product that we're like super excited about. I'm excited to see what people do with it. So if you never heard of content syndication before, it's not really talked about that much in the SEO industry, but in like the publishing industry, it's a huge, huge thing. And essentially what it means is like you can take your content that exists on your website or pre-existing content, and you can get it published on all sorts of different domains, publishers, news sites, all kinds of stuff like this. And I know what most people are probably thinking. They're like, duplicate content, red flags are going off in your mind right now, and you can't even think until we address this duplicate content thing. So actually Moz has a great video on this, and actually put it even on the sales page because everyone's just going to be like, duplicate content. So there's a lot to say about duplicate content, but it kind of boils down to this: is like duplicate content has a lot of misconceptions, and they think that if you put duplicate content, like everything is going to burn. It's not like that, actually. What you need to do is if you want to republish stuff, what you want to have is like something called a rel canonical that says like, hey Google, this is the original piece. And that's exactly what we do in syndication. That's what everybody does in syndication. They say, hey, this is, if you've ever been to a website and you've been reading an article and it says at the bottom, like, this was originally posted here, it's probably a syndicated piece, and they're probably doing that same type of thing. So that's exactly what we do. So that helps avoid any kind of duplicate content. And essentially what happens is like wherever it's published, your original piece where the rel canonical is, that's the one that gets the credit for it. So that's kind of, so now that we got that duplicate content stuff out of the way, what we found is we saw like some of the biggest websites in the world. I mean, if you're an affiliate, you know of NerdWallet because NerdWallet's like one of the biggest essentially performance marketing sites in the world. And I was checking out their backlinks and stuff, and I just noticed that like they were doing a ton of content distribution. They were like republishing their articles on all these different like sites and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of strange. And then I started looking at some other affiliate sites, and I saw that not only were they like republishing on all these different news sites, they were even getting like links to multiple of their pages in there. They were even getting their affiliate links on the republished like news sites, like straight affiliate links to Amazon. And so I saw enough instances of this. I was like, we have to investigate it. So we did. And the problem is that most people don't have access to be able to syndicate stuff, right? Like I started looking like, where can I buy this? You can't really buy it. There's not like anybody that's like selling it. I'm sure that you can find somebody somewhere. We actually did. We found one. We found a company called Brandpoint, and they sell it for $4,000. And I think that's probably out of the price range of most people. So what we did is we like investigated this, and we worked our publisher connections, and we were able to, create this new product. It's called HOTH Syndication. and it's on the same networks as like a Nerd Wallet is distributing to. That's really cool, and we're really excited. It just launched, and so I'm pumped to see like what people do with it, how people use it, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. And I guess I'm thinking of using it myself, by the way. But I guess I'm still a little nervous about sort of the concept. I understand the rel canonical and all that stuff, but I was going to say, like, let's say for my side niche site project, would you recommend like testing it on like just one post, or would you say, all right, maybe 3-4 posts that you're interested in having syndicated that are informational and helpful and that sort of thing? Or how do you recommend just someone testing the waters on it?
Yeah, you can do anything that you want. You can test like one post, check it out, or you can do a few different ones. I mean, some of the biggest sites, they're literally syndicating everything that they have. So, I mean, I don't have a specific recommendation. It's more, it's like kind of like asking like how many links should you build? So, depends on what you can do. But this is something that we just launched, and so what I like to do is I like to experiment, and I like to get real case studies and then come out and say what we've actually seen. So for us being new, like I don't have a lot of specific recommendations for this. It's kind of weird, like you ever see like Google updates, and then like as soon as a Google update, somebody has an article on like how to fix it, and it's kind of weird. Like, dude, how could you fix it in one day? Like, it's not possible. So, but people love those articles and they'll read them. Well, I just like to be truthful and transparent as much as possible. It's a new thing. We have like 40,000 experiments going with it right now, and so as that comes out, I want to show you guys like case study and proof. But it's a new product for us, so I'm excited to see like what people do with it.
I will let you know how it goes for me. So,
awesome.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about is the Hoth Life vlog series. So I was perusing the site before we were chatting, and I was like, oh, I didn't see this. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, essentially, we think that video is the future. I mean, if you look at the stats, video is blowing up. They said by 2020, like over 80% of internet traffic is actually going to be video. And we, being like a content creation company, like an SEO company, we essentially like create content, help people rank content. You realize that you can rank your written content in Google, which is the biggest search engine, but the second biggest search engine, if you're writing articles, you can't rank in YouTube with the written article, right? You have to make a video. So we started investing in that. So we started, taking our content and creating videos out of it. And so that's been working decently. But at the same time, what people are on YouTube about is sometimes they're on there to learn SEO, but they're also, you can't just like jam SEO down people's throats. It's about having content and then in an entertaining way. And one of the things that we thought we could show, that's a little bit about ourselves, or tell people about us to get that connection, is to show people like what happens behind the scenes at the Hoth. What kinds of other things are we doing, and put like a real human face to what we do, which is something I think that was missing from a lot of SEO. A lot of SEO companies, it's hard to see that human connection and like see, is there somebody actually behind this thing? Is there a personality, or is it just a huge scam? That's kind of how it felt like in 2010 back in the day. So yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to put some personality to it and show kind of what's going on behind the scenes.
Right on. It's pretty cool. I was going to say we'll put some links to it so people could check it out, of course. But I was going to say, it's like you guys cover some SEO topic, and like you said, you frame it in a vlog format, so it's not so boring like some of my videos where I'm just literally sitting here, a little talking head. You guys have a little story behind it, and there's some people, and it's a little bit more interesting than just a straight up SEO video, of which there are so many.
Yeah. We're trying different stuff out because I think YouTube is a special character. We're good at SEO. We're like an office of 45 SEO nerds trying to do YouTube. We're competing with like cat videos and Logan Paul and all kinds of like really cool things. So, we're trying it out, and we're going to see how it goes, man.
Interesting. And just as an aside, I've been spending a lot of time on YouTube, as you can imagine, creating videos and stuff. And it is, I don't know, I go back and forth, but really it's like a volume situation. where even if it was bad content that I was putting out, it was better than not putting something out. So there was a stretch where I published like 2 videos a day for a month, and it was like, growth. Now, as soon as I took my foot off the gas, because I don't have that many people working with me, it was like 2.
Yeah.
It slowed back down. But I think you could manipulate it in a way where it's like you get the growth and then you figure out what's working and then you can sustain it. But obviously it's super expensive to do video,
So. I will tell you that, I would speak more confidently about it if we had 100K subscribers, but we don't. So I don't like to toot my own horn where I haven't done stuff. You know what I mean? But I will say that I do have friends that have over 100K subs, and that's exactly what they did. For instance, my friends, they're called the Jump Rope Dudes or Zen Dude Fitness. And if you look at their channel, they got a ton of subscribers. And I was like, dude, what did you do? He goes, all right, here's my SEO strategy. He goes, okay, I went to YouTube and I looked at the autocomplete, type in jump rope, and then it says autocomplete. And there's like jump rope like a boxer, jump rope like a gymnast, jump rope for weight loss. And he goes, I just made a video on every single one of those things. And they did, and then they dominated the front page for jump rope. So, I mean, some people tend to overcomplicate it. I thought that was a pretty cool strategy, and they definitely got a ton of subscribers just by cranking out those videos. So that's a real world case study. That's exactly what he did.
Amazing. Jump rope, huh?
Yeah. Apparently jump rope is big.
I didn't know. It's so simple, I guess. Or maybe it's not. I didn't even know there were all those different ways to jump rope.
Yeah. No, it's big, dude. They got over 100K subscribers. They got like that, the plaque and everything. So,
wow, that's very cool. So, we're coming up towards the end here. Is there anything else, Clayton, that you want to share with us?
Yeah, man, I want to say thank you so much for having me, dude. This has been a blast. I love doing kind of stuff like this because sometimes, if you get these marketing emails all the time, you don't know the story behind it. And I love sharing the story because I think the story a lot of times, if you can connect like that and that can be even more powerful than any kind of SEO advice that I could give,
Absolutely. Well, and it's a pleasure talking to you. Like I said, I've been a customer for years, and I'm glad, we, sort of rekindled our email thread and we've been chatting here. So, everybody check out the Hoth. I'll put links for everything, and thanks a lot, Clayton.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Of course, thanks again to Clayton Johnson of the Hoth. I really do appreciate it. And I do encourage everyone to check out the Hoth. There will be links in the description so you can get to it. Again, I'm an affiliate, so don't forget about that. And I appreciate it if you use my affiliate link. Now, I mentioned it before, but I really want to emphasize the high level of customer service that the Hoth provides. And they actually have account managers and just customer support folks that reach out to you, right? So after you place an order, like you get like proper reporting, and they stay in touch really well. And I'll be honest with you, for a while, I was testing out my guest posting service, and I've offered it off and on over the last few years. For a long stretch, it was just on hiatus. And one of the major issues that I have, I have a lot of issues, but one of the major issues I have that's relevant to what I'm talking about now is the customer service piece. And it takes someone with a background in customer service and operations to be able to, provide that solid customer service so that you feel as a customer that you're being taken care of and that the company understands, your needs and what you're looking for and that sort of thing. That is one of the major areas where I failed. Even when I had a VA with a focus on customer support, I was failing my VA by not providing enough information and not sort of attracting the right customers and framing the whole service. So I can tell you that it's super difficult to have that customer service at a level where, the customers love it, number one, and that, the product that you're delivering is at a high level. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to do it anymore. So that's why I was like, hey, I'm pulling back from this guest posting service situation. So that's another story for another day. The point is, if you want to check out the Hoth, if you have more money than time, which some people do, I encourage you to check out the Hoth. And I've had good results in the past. I'm running tests right now in the summer time frame of 2019 to see how things are going now, right? Because people ask all the time, does SEO work in 2019? Do these link building methods work in 2019? Can you rank in 2019? And fill in the blank, right? If you're watching this a couple years from now, in 2021 or 2025, whatever. The point is, I'm testing some things right now. Once I run the test and I have the case studies available, I will put links in the description. So if you were watching this in the future, I would say in the June timeframe of 2019, it's highly likely you're going to be able to see some results. If you want some specifics of the test that I'm running, it is for keyword golden ratio content on a site with essentially no backlinks other than some blog comments. And I am sending a few, 1 to 2, right? Actually, I got to look back at the test. I'm sending a small number, I think just one guest post to a specific post to see how it moves, right? So it's getting a little traffic right now, just naturally. And I want to see what happens if we give it a little push, a little power with a guest post from the Hoth. All right. So I think that's it. I've rambled on pretty long. Thanks for checking it out. If you want to see more from Clayton or if you have questions for him, just leave a comment below. I think I liked just chatting with Clayton. So I bet we can hop on and talk about some higher level marketing stuff and business and that sort of thing. So again, thanks to Clayton, thanks to the Hoth, thanks to you for watching this, and we'll see you next time.